Hey Bat fans, Luke here, back with another video, and I'm going to kick off my favorite time of year, which you can probably tell by not just the one tree that you're looking at, but the other tree we have way over there. Yes, I have two Christmas trees, and that is, yeah, Christmas. It's my favorite time of year. And while the kids and I and my wife didn't fully decorate the trees, that's going to be fun for tomorrow. I did decorate my tree with the book we're going to talk about tonight, and that is Batman Unseen, which is written by Doug Moench and with art by Kelly Jones. So obviously, those two names should ring a bell. That is the creative team we saw in the pages, the Batman circa that Nightfall era. And that's mainly one of the reasons I was really pumped up to get this trade, which is just a 5-issue little mini-series entitled, obviously, Batman Unseen, was that you really do get the Doug Moench, Kelly Jones type of Batman story condensed in a little trade. And if you really had to describe, Doug Moench and Kelly Jones's style, it's really that dark horror feel to it. We kind of really seen that exasperated nowadays with the Capullo and Snyder and their Batman run. Specifically with Snyder, who really does go after the horror theme, but in his story. But in the Moench and Kelly Jones era, they really took that. I think was really almost, dare I say, the first to really do that in Batman. Really kind of take the horror. Maybe not be the first to incorporate horror to their stories, but really kind of almost make it like the forefront of their storytelling. Because it's especially considering the time it was released. Those are some dark stories, and the images that they evoked. I almost want to say it's the first of its kind. Well, Kelly Jones's Batman is the first of its kind because of those ears. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, you've seen it obviously in Kelly Jones's style and Batman then, and then you would see it in Swamp Thing, which we'll see a little bit again of Jones' Swamp Thing this winter with that Swamp Thing solo shot that's coming out predominantly by Tom King and Jason Fabok, but also that backstory with Len Wein and Kelly Jones. But that's going a little bit too far into it. But again, that's kind of really one of the reasons I bought this book, and I was kind of excited to talk about it, was that you really are getting a horror-themed Batman story, which I just really enjoy. Now, if I really had to describe Batman Unseen after reading it and kind of think about it, I'm going to use the term balance. In that when you get one of those really good Batman stories, you do get a perfect balance between writing and art. There's really no distinguishable difference as far as the quality between the two. It's almost like it's in, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to say harmony. Equilibrium. There you go. There's an equilibrium between the quality and direction of the writing and the art, and that's really what makes those good stories. And I'll start by the art in this. Now I'm gonna have to take it off the tree and kind of put this down on the see here, so you can kind of see some of the art I'm going to talk about. The art in this story is really great. Kind of going into characters here, and I just wanted to kind of just showcase some of the art that you see in here. It's typical Kelly Jones art. He does cool things. You get the main plot and the story, but like within each issue, there's kind of like little segues. We'll say like chapter 1 or whatnot. That's actually part 1 of the book, but you see where it says like chapter 1, Fearless, and it has like just a little snapshot of Batman doing something just really off the wall, but the images are really cool. You see Hopeless, image of Batman coming out of a bottle. Then you have Faceless there. It's a clever design. I don't know who gets credit for that, Moench or Jones, but it's just little things like that you see in this story that are just great. But again, this is just a really crazy story that really does fit Kelly Jones's art style, to a T. And I'll kind of get into the kind of what you're seeing here in a minute. But I think he also does I gotta check to see who does the colors in this, because the colors are really cool too. But without really going too much more, without kind of telling you what you're looking at, but basically what the story is, there's this person. His name is, he's a scientist. I'm having real trouble remembering all these dang names. What's his name? Nick Giles, I think it's what it is. Glass. Either way, but this professor, what he's doing, he's coming up with this Dr. Nigel Glass, there it is. He's right there at the bar. What he's coming up with this ability to basically become invisible, and it's literally to the sense where you can walk around and do whatever you want to do and not be seen by anybody. And initially his project was turned down by Wayne Enterprises, and he was fired. And you see more of the art here. But he's later hired by Black Mask to come up with this product that Black Mask could then use for his own benefit. But unfortunately, Giles does come up with the product, but it kind of has like a side effect in that the more you use it, the more of your sanity you lose and become more violent and whatnot. And it really does take the subconscious away from the user. And what happens is ultimately, they call him the Meat Man. The Meat Man starts committing these murders with everyone who initially went against him or did him wrong. There's one scene when he actually murders the first person in the store. Was kind of like, the one was the oddball one, really didn't have any meaning, but there's one where he killed his landlord. Then this one scene here where he actually kills his ex-girlfriend, which was just nuts. He actually severs her head right in front of her current boyfriend, just goes nuts. Then he attempts to murder his boss at Wayne Industries. But you see the connection eventually toward about 2/3 of the story, where Black Mask, in his last ditch effort to save himself, because Giles was actually going to kill him too, they have a common enemy, and that being Bruce Wayne. And if you're not familiar with Black Mask, and not really to worry, because you actually get a short little, I think it was only like 2 or 3 pages of backstory of Black Mask. Let's see if I can find it. It's actually pretty well done, considering, again, it's real short. It was only like 2 or 3 pages, but it told the Black Mask story pretty dang well, unto a point where, again, if you're new to the character, it got you up to speed, and really did kind of flesh things out. You see there, the False Face Society goes into a whole story about how the Waynes did him wrong with his parents, and when his father died, one of the people who used the cosmetics basically turned him poor, and then he takes a piece of wood from his father's coffin that he put into the mask and removed his face, and this is why he wants to take revenge on Bruce Wayne. it's a real good story if you're not familiar with it. Definitely doesn't go too far in depth than the actual origin of him, but again, it does its point, but it's just awesome. But they do sort of initially form of a bond, but I'll kind of get into that in a minute. But eventually, what happens again? The guy Giles, he goes too far at the deep end. The more he's taking it, it's kind of like a drug where he builds initial tolerance and that he has to keep up with the dosage just to keep the effect of being invisible. And again, his mind starts to slip more and more away. And he does have this confrontation with Batman as he's trying to solve this case. And there's a plot twist toward the end in which, if you're familiar with the story Batman Venom, it kind of borrows a little bit that from that story, and that how Batman actually takes this villain out. But it does come up again in a nice contained story that does unfortunately have its faults. But I'll tell you one thing that it doesn't have a fault with is the art. Which brings up the point I was talking about earlier when I said balance. You know, those good stories that find a good balance and equilibrium between the quality of the writing and the art is when you get those really good stories. Unfortunately, I don't think I would quantify this as a great story. I mean, a fun story, but not a great one. Mainly because I do think there is... Let me go ahead and put old Unseen back on the tree so we can enjoy the Christmas tree. This word does kind of not reach that great story plateau, because I do think while the art in this is great, the story does have some flaws, which does kind of create an imbalance, I think, a little bit. First off, the thing that it's a huge missed opportunity in this story, because it opens up and it's Batman going after Black Mask's gang, and what he's finding out is that initially people are no longer fearing Batman. He's becoming to really rely on being more physical, so he can't really rely on the fear factor as he used to. But as that story goes on, that kind of theme kind of gets lost in the sauce. And it's referenced here and there throughout the rest, but I mean, that is just a fantastic plot idea that really does just get kind of wasted. So I was kind of bummed that Doug Moench really didn't kind of pull on that thread a little bit more. Another glaring thing that just drove me kind of nuts was that there was an initial plot element in the story where it talks about how Black Mask was going to fund Giles' research, and that he would have to get one of his goons to pull the money out from the bank, withdraw the money, then kind of do something else with cash. And you're kind of wondering, it's like, really? That seems like a whole lot of work just to basically get this guy in a flat or an apartment so he can continue his research. But later, about halfway through the story, you find out that's how Batman was able to find out the location of Giles' laboratory, for lack of a better term. So it did seem convenient, and again, it did kind of stuck out in the beginning, and then when you see how Batman kind of puts things together, you're just like, okay, now I know why that was put there, and it was really just a plot device. So that kind of felt kind of cheap in a way. Another is that I think some of the character moments and some of the dialogue was kind of choppy, and this really wasn't like a flow to it. You can kind of tell there's some forced humor here and there, but it just really felt kind of out of place. I mean, what else? Again, the Black Mask portion of the story, again, it was you're reading through initially, you do see that there's like a bond between, you know, the Meat Man and Black Mask, and then just like the next chapter in the story, that alliance is like seemingly broken. And I understand you're kind of getting after the fact that, yeah, you know, the Meat Man's losing more of his sanity, and his tolerance for violence is obviously being pushed to the extreme, so he's not really going to have any allies. I can see that, but it was just really a alliance quickly formed, and like really, Black Mask could have been shot right in the head, and you know, Meat Man didn't do it. Meat Man Giles being the same guy, and then again he just goes, he shoots him very shoot at. It's just like, well, why didn't you just shoot him in the head when you had him basically at point blank before? So that part kind of felt odd. Again, I can kind of see, lastly, why Batman did what he did, and I don't want to kind of spoil it. Again, kind of goes into, if you read Venom, you kind of get what I'm getting at. Again, that's Batman. Batman's thing, what he does best. Again, he's a detective, and his best attributes, or his mind, is at its peak, and he's in the best of the physical condition. That's what makes him the best of what he is. But when he takes certain things, it kind of enhances those abilities. It does feel like he's kind of cheating a little bit. So I did feel that Batman had to cheat just a little bit to beat down someone. In reality, I just don't think it was all that necessary. So that ultimately kind of pushed it. But all these things are bad things I kind of saw, but there was some good. I mean, first off, this was a great idea for a story. Batman chasing down someone that ultimately you can't see, and then you see the degradation of a character. This Giles guy, Niles, whatever, Meat Man, starting from a person who's just out down in the dumps, and then unfortunately you see him relying on this drug, and it breaks it up, but you see the slow decay that, first it's ripping down his skin, then he takes down to the muscles, then he's down to the bone, and you just see the organs, and you just see nothing. So you see that all kind of progress, and that's great. You do see a lot of good detective elements in this story. You see Batman trying to solve the crime. One part, again, it's just the opening story, they really did kind of lead in like this was actually going to be a good Black Mask story, because that's actually the initial case Batman and Commissioner Gordon were hunting down, is what these murders are. And you're thinking they're not really initially, but you got the murders and then this Black Mask case that they're hunting down. So it did seem like two crimes that were actually kind of merged into one. So it's not all that bad. And again, Kelly Jones's art really does freaking push this thing to the next level. But all is not bad. I mean, but unfortunately, there really is no good balance. I think the clear heavy hitter in this story was Kelly Jones's art. So over and all, would I recommend this? I would recommend this if you really a fan of Kelly Jones's art. You do kind of have to take the big Kelly Jones Batman ears that you kind of see from time to time in Batman history, because that's what Kelly Jones is known for, and that is rampant throughout in this story is the Kelly Jones ears, Batman ears. But it's got that good horror art, and if that's your thing, you really will like it for the art alone. So yeah, I would recommend it. I would give this probably I'd give it a 3 out of 5. If only the writing was a little bit better, this would be probably a lot better. This probably would have been about a 3.5 or a 4. But it's a 3, mainly because the art. Because if the art was kind of average at best, this thing probably would have been probably about a 2.5 on its own. But yeah, if the writing was only a little bit better, some things flushed out, this would have been just a fantastic story. But it is fun, and it's one that I would recommend get either way. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below what you thought of this story if you read it, and we'll kind of bat chat and kind of go from there. And yeah, so next time video, hopefully be in front of the tree with all the ornaments. and maybe swing over to the other one, kind of go from there. So until next video, take care.